What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Heat Check Podcast. As always, you're joined by my co-host here, Joey. Before we get started, once again, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell when we upload because we're coming at you twice a week now. Of course, today we're going to be bringing you only NFL news, and then tomorrow we're going to hit you strictly with fantasy, kind of help you get set up not only for the rest of the season, but before Thursday Night Football starts, get your lineup set up for the week. But yeah, if you didn't see the update video that I posted last week towards the end of it, make sure you go check that out. It's got a lot of important information about what we're going to be doing when it comes to the future of the channel. So make sure you go check that out. Come back here and going to hit you with all the NFL news. Got to go through the games first. Starting off with Thursday Night Football. Man, San Francisco looked rough. They did not look good at all. Green Bay, they limited Aaron Jones, and even when he was on the field, he looked amazing against them, against a really good run defense too. Aaron Jones looked great against San Francisco. Green Bay kind of started to look like they were going to fall off. I mean, they lost to, not really Minnesota, but they lost to Dalvin Cook just because their run defense is atrocious. But they come back against a strong defense, I feel like is still a strong defense. And they do that, and they just dominate. I think Green Bay is still pretty much an NFC championship, like punch their ticket in. They're guaranteed for that.
Definitely, they're one of my favorites. I mean, after the Bucs just got blown out, that doesn't look good on us from last episode. But for sure, Green Bay's up there, man. For sure, they're definitely going to get to the NFC Championship, in my opinion.
And Davante Adams has had one of the craziest wide receiver spans since he's came back. I mean, it was like he comes back, puts up, I think it was like 45, then 30 and 33. I mean, that's just unheard of. That's amazing. It's a crazy span that he's going through right now. So Green Bay looks amazing. If you got anybody on their offense, you really are just in a great shape because Aaron Rodgers has been playing great too. He's playing like an MVP this year. And then Seattle, Buffalo obliterated that defense. And with this, I feel like comes the question: do you feel like the Seahawks defense will continue to waste Russell Wilson's season? Because in my opinion, Russell Wilson is having an MVP season, but the main thing a lot of people were concerned with is that is his defense going to hold him back? Because the reason he has been slated as the MVP is because how good he has forced this team to play, especially with how bad their defense is. But now they're starting to play against better teams come playoff times. Guys are going to start exploiting this defense, and an offense can only do so much. The Cowboys proved that. You can have such a great offense, but if your defense is the worst, you're not going to do anything with it. So do you feel like the Seahawks defense will single-handedly not only affect his MVP rates, but just waste his season?
Absolutely, because the MVP is about winning and the stats. Winning is a big part of it, though. You can't be on the Jets and win the MVP, even if your stats are amazing. You got to win games, and it seems like every game the Seahawks are in is a shootout. And their defense is terrible, but Russell Wilson keeps them in the game through the air. But sometimes Russell Wilson can't do enough to make up for the lack of his defense because the defense is doing so bad that it's hard for Russell Wilson to pick up that slack.
Yeah, it's sad when you see stuff like that happen, but I mean, it's something that you just can't help if you're Russell Wilson. And even though he has really overstepped, I mean, people thought he was in his prime last season, and he just completely overstepped that, and it's going to go to waste because of how bad this defense is. And then the next game I thought was a great game, a game that I should have watched and paid more attention to, but definitely a game nobody expected to be as close as it came, and an almost offensive player of the week performance by Christian McCaffrey coming back here. Carolina and KC putting on a great show, 33-31. Carolina just missed it. I mean, their kicker was forced to make a 67-yard field goal to even try to make it, and that's just not going to happen. But CMC had a great game, but then, of course, he got injured. He got injured on one of the final plays. It's a shoulder injury. It's considered day-to-day, but most likely he'll be missing this week. It's starting to look like he'll miss both upcoming weeks, so it really is sad. But we talked about it last episode. Do we think what does Carolina really need to do to try to keep contention in for that wild card spot? Because it really is up in the air, I feel like, especially with the NFC. Overall, there is no true contender. There is no true leader, and especially when it comes to the wild card, it really is a toss-up. Carolina proved in that last game they have what it takes. I mean, what do you think now, especially against a great team? I feel like their defense is good over there in Kansas City. A great team like this, can Carolina make that wild card spot?
I don't think they can overpower either the Saints or the Buccaneers. It's possible with how the Buccaneers have played if they somehow keep that up, which I don't see. Brady doesn't do that multiple games in a row. Uh, those two teams are just great at the top, man. I don't see Carolina getting into the top two, even though they have been very good and they're very underrated this year.
Yeah, no doubt. And then moving on to the 4 o'clock slot, LA versus Las Vegas, easily game of the week. I'm gonna punch it in right here, easily game of the week. That was the game I wanted to pay attention to the most, and it was a very entertaining game. Herbert once again had a great game. A heartbreaking loss for LA though, it really was. It was. I don't really want to say it was a great performance by Derek Carr because he didn't have that good of a performance, but he was accurate. He was there when they needed to be. Las Vegas. Um, it's just because people continue to ask that question: are Las Vegas legit? It was pretty much, oh, can they make the playoffs? It seems like they're going to make the playoffs. It seems they're easily the second best team in their division. How far? What is the ceiling for the Raiders? I mean, they look like they could, get it out the wild card, maybe go into the divisional. What is your ceiling for them?
I don't. Their team doesn't impress me too much on paper or anything like that. I mean, I've been watching their games. Their run game is very strong. They have a very good secondary. Jonathan Abram has been playing out of his mind lately. He's been playing very good. I just don't see that team uh, really competing in the playoffs with some of those better teams. I mean, they beat the Chargers, who have been playing very well lately, but their games have just been too close. I know they beat the Chiefs earlier in the season. I don't like the talent on that team enough to say that they can make it past the first round.
Yeah, I guess time will tell. But they do look really good right now. And then of course the game everyone's talking about, not because of how good it was, but because how bad it was. Oh my God, the Bucs! What happened? You get one of the best wide receivers in the league, and then you have the worst offensive game of the season. Like that just doesn't add up. 38-3, New Orleans, great game. Good game from Drew Brees. Great game from their defense. Just did the Bucs fool us? I mean, honestly, I just want to hear your take on this. Did the Bucs fool us? We thought they were punching in their ticket for the Super Bowl. Everybody across the board had the Bucs going for this game. And then they do that. Then they just go out there and lay on their backs. I mean, this, like we said earlier, proves that there is no true contender. So did they fool us? Are they the Super Bowl contenders still?
Well, they did fool basically everyone in America, but don't get fooled though. Even though we might have been fooled that week, it's the Buccaneers. This doesn't happen. It's a fluke of a game. I wouldn't be too down if you're a Bucs fan or a Bucs believer this year. I don't see that ever happening again to Tom Brady with these weapons. They got to mesh a little bit more. I mean, you could say it's the Antonio Brown curse, but he played pretty well. The defense was very bad. It was just they just looked out of it. I don't know what was wrong. The whole team was bad. I don't see that continuing though. It's the Buccaneers. I still think they're coming on top of that division and will make a playoff run definitely.
Yeah, especially if you want confidence as a team, you can't go out there and have your third worst performance of your career. But yeah, definitely there. I mean, there's nowhere to go but up for Tampa. And then the Monday Night Football game. No one expected this game to be good, and this game was good. Uh, Jesus, New England, man, you almost lost it. Joe Flacco was dotting you up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep it 100. Joe Flacco looked great last night. Denzel Mim looked great last night. I mean, there were some times where Frank Gore was tearing apart your defense. Um, is Stephon Gilmore even healthy for y'all?
He didn't play at all. He
Yeah,
wasn't in that game.
a lot of people are saying, "Oh, J.C. Jackson is able to step up." No one's able to step up
No,
on that secondary
he
right
he
now.
was getting killed even though he made that pick at the last minute, which basically saved the game for the Patriots. He was getting killed all game by I forget his name, Perryman. I think he was the wide receiver one last night for the Jets. Flacco was putting balls right in their hands everywhere. That corner of the end zone catch by Crowder was so impressive, man.
Yeah,
Jets played great against one of the top tier defenses, as some people would say. Doesn't look like it anymore, though.
yeah, but um, it's sad to see a fall from grace like that. I mean, not for me, but I mean, Cam looked better. But I mean, it's really hard to play bad against that Jets defense. But Cam did look better. What was that guy? Jacoby Myers had an
Yeah.
insane night. He had like 169 yards. Great night for him. But yeah, New England snuck away. I think it was like a 51 yarder from Nick Folk. Barely got away with a win there. And then the last thing I want to hit on before we get into our awards, Pittsburgh played awful. Pittsburgh did not look good in that game. I mean, don't fool yourself. Yeah, they are still undefeated. They're still a playoff contender, yada yada. They're already in the playoffs pretty much. But
It's too much.
yeah, and then that pretty much wraps off everything. When I think it was a pretty exciting week. There was a lot of good games, a lot of high scoring games, and I feel like this past week was pretty good. Offensive Player of the Week. There was finally a competition. Dalvin Cook was just dominating, but there was finally some guy who stepped up, and that guy was Christian McCaffrey. But Dalvin Cook barely edged out Christian McCaffrey. I wanted to give it to him because of sympathy, but Dalvin Cook did have the better week. 22 carries for 206 yards. That's what really won it for me. I mean, Derrick Henry usually puts up 200 yards on like 30 carries. That's minus 10. That just tells you how good and how productive Dalvin Cook was. And yes, C-Mac put up great numbers against a good defense, but 22 carries, I mean, that just, and also 2 touchdowns, 2 receptions for 46 yards. Cook, once again, he's cooking up defenses left and right, no doubt. What about you?
I'm getting tired of talking about Dalvin Cook. That's just how good he is. We've talked about him for weeks straight. This guy's amazing. I don't have him as my offensive player of the week though because I wanted to put someone different. I wanted to put Josh Allen with a 415-yard performance with 4 touchdowns. He did very good. I think he also had a rushing touchdown as well, along with 3 passing touchdowns. Very good performance by the Bills. They put up a ton of points. But you can't deny Dalvin Cook. I mean, he's definitely besides quarterbacks, he was the guy this week and last week. He's been very impressive, man. He's putting up MVP numbers as a running back. This is getting crazy for.
Yeah, no doubt. And then on the defensive side of the ball, there was some really good performances. There was a linebacker, I believe his name was Eric Wilson for the Vikings, who had a really good performance. I saw that. But I got to give the edge to a very underrated New York's defense. And the big star from that was Logan Ryan. He had 6 total tackles, an INT, 2 pass deflections, and a forced fumble. He was everywhere. Logan Ryan looked great. Their defense looked great. Of course, Washington taking a huge, I won't say a huge hit, but it was a gruesome injury to Kyle Allen. Alex Smith is stepping in now. Even though he threw 3 interceptions, Alex Smith looked better for them. But Logan Ryan, he was a highlight of that New York's defense, and I really do feel like their defense won them that game. Once again, the New York defense is carrying the Giants. What about you?
I'm going with Logan Ryan. Also, this guy hasn't talked about enough. He's so good. No one talks about him though. He had amazing numbers, and I believe he had the interception or one of the two at the end to seal the game, basically for the Giants. Which
Yeah.
one was it? The last one?
I want to say it was the second to last. I can't really remember.
Yeah, but he had a big interception to help the Giants get the victory in that game. He's all over the field, like Brett said. He's a very underrated player, and he should be talked about more after multiple good performances this season.
And that wraps up last week. Let's get through next week's games. Tennessee versus the Texans. This has the potential to be a great Thursday night game. Oh wait, no, it's not Tennessee versus Texans. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's Tennessee versus Indianapolis. I don't know why I put Texans. My fault. But yeah, it's Tennessee versus Indianapolis. This has the potential to be a great game. Indianapolis's defense has looked incredible. Definitely a lot better than I thought, especially Xavier Rhodes. But nobody's stopping AJ Brown right now. I am so glad I got him for the value that I did, and that was off of a waiver. But AJ Brown, when it comes to NFL in general, has been cooking it up. He's gotten a touchdown, I'm pretty sure, in every single game he's played since he's came back from injury. Nobody's stopping that. And Derrick Henry, it's King Henry. He had a down game last. It pretty much that's how it goes for Derrick Henry. He has a really big game, and then a couple of good games, and then a down game, and then he'll usually bounce back. And I feel like this week he won't. have a huge bounce back, but he'll probably get into the end zone to kind of even it out. So I'm going to give the edge to Tennessee here. Eh, I've seen people say Indianapolis could go away, but I can't trust Phillip Rivers or anybody in that backfield long enough to think that they could compete with Tennessee. Tennessee has more security. Their defense sucks, yes, but their offense just outweighs the odds. I'm gonna go with Tennessee in this one.
I gotta go with Tennessee also. They've been playing great. Like you said, AJ Brown's unstoppable right now. Henry, he's got to pick it up though. That was, I mean, he had like 30 carries for only like I don't know, 60 yards, something like that. Bad game last week for Henry, but I see the Titans picking it up. It should be a good Thursday night game finally.
Yeah, no doubt. And then to start off on the 1 o'clock games, I got the Texans versus the Browns. Um, Texans look a lot better. I don't know how many times I got a hit on it, but Texans look a lot better since they fired Bill O'Brien. That seems so long ago because the season has flown by. But I don't know if Baker Mayfield's going to be back for this game. He is still on the COVID reserve list as of now. So if he is, it really does depend on if he's healthy. If Baker is in, the Texans defense is so bad on both sides. Their running defense sucks. Their passing defense sucks too. Their offense looks good. The running game took a hit with David Johnson. So if Baker Mayfield is in, I'm going to give this game to the Browns. But if not, I can't give it to him. I can't give it to a guy because you can't even trust Baker Mayfield as much as it is, let alone his backup. So if Baker's in, I'm going to go with the Browns. If not, I got to go with the Texans.
I'm actually going to go with the Texans after either way. After that great offensive performance last week, the receivers look great. Fuller looks great. Cooks looks great. Deshaun Watson, as always, putting up a great year this year. I'm going to take the Texans in that one.
And then the other game we have is Hawks versus Rams over in the 4 o'clock slot. Like we said earlier, their defense is really bad. It kind of sucks. You can't really champion the Hawks now. It really does suck. And Russell Wilson's great unless it's a good matchup for the Hawks. But the Rams aren't a team to mess around with. I mean, they're the second ranked secondary in the league right now. So I'm gonna go with a little bit of an underdog. I'm gonna go with the Rams this week. Bills exposed a huge weakness that was pretty much exposed with everybody, but I feel like if the Rams can create at least one turnover, I think one turnover is enough to give the Rams the edge in this game. So yeah, I gotta go them.
I can't pick the Rams. I felt good about the Bills last week, but I don't feel as good about the Rams. I've watched a lot of Rams games this year. I don't think they have what it takes to beat the Seahawks. I'm taking the Seahawks.
And then the other 4 o'clock slot is the Bills versus Cardinals. Usually I only go with one game per slot, but this game was way too good. This game was way too good for me to ignore. And the thing with the Cardinals, they're a team that will utterly demolish a team like the Cowboys, and then they'll get beat by the Dolphins. Like, what is with their defense? Like sometimes Buda Baker
on the Dolphins this year, man. The Dolphins are good.
Yeah, the Dolphins are good, but the Cardinals have been a weird team this year. They played good. They played horrible. They've never played solid throughout in a certain span. So, but Kyler Murray has been the shining star of that team. He is playing phenomenal this year. But a guy who's been playing even better, I feel like, is Josh Allen. That whole team over there at the Bills has been playing phenomenally. Same thing with the Hawks. For you, for me, I can't bet against the Bills at this point. I was riding high on them before the season, and I was right. Bills are going to take this game against the Cardinals. If there's any team to prove me wrong, it would be the Cardinals just because of how they played this season. So it really does depend on which team shows up. But I'm going to go with the safe choice, and I'm going to go Bills.
I'll bet against you, Brett, and I'll take the Cardinals in that game. Cardinals will look good. I mean, they've been having some pretty tough matchups lately. But, I mean, the Bills' defense isn't good, but it's not bad. But I'll take the Cardinals in this one.
And then for Sunday night, we got Baltimore versus New England. I got Baltimore, no doubt. I feel like at the beginning of the game, this was looking like, it could be a really good matchup because this secondary is going to come back for revenge after last year. But now Lamar Jackson isn't having as good of a year. Yes, but it's still Lamar Jackson. He still, in my opinion, is one of the top QBs in the league. You can't deny that. His rushing game, the way he is, sometimes the way he looks in the pocket, I mean, you can't deny it. So easily give me Baltimore in this one. I mean, I feel like this one could be a blowout. But of course, you never know. Cam Newton could start playing like a monster again and then beat Baltimore for all I know. But I cannot do anything when it comes to that New England team, except for against the Jets. But I can't bet on them, especially against a team like Baltimore.
Yeah, definitely going with the safe pick on the Ravens here against New England. After that last game, their defense looked so bad against Flacco, so I can't imagine what Lamar Jackson will do, especially if Gilmore's out again. I hope that he's not. But we'll see how New England's run game does against Baltimore. I mean, they have no receivers, so they have to run a 2-receiver set, and they just have to run the ball hard. And if they can find some holes, I mean, it could be a good game.
Could be. I hope it is, just for the sake
Yeah.
of it watching, because usually I like watching Sunday Night Football. And then Monday Night Football, this has the potential to be a great game, I feel like. It really just depends on how good the Bears decide to play and who plays for the Bears, because the Bears, they might not have David Montgomery this week. But it's Vikings versus Bears. Um, I'm going to go Bears here. And here's the only reason why. The Vikings have looked phenomenal. More specifically, Dalvin Cook does look phenomenal. But Cook can't dig Kirk Cousins out of the hole I know he's going to dig himself into. This Chicago's secondary has proved time and time again to be good. And the only people who have been able to outperform them are top 5 fantasy wide receivers like A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is the guy that pops up because he just played them last week. He put up 20. But Thielen hasn't looked good as of late, and Jefferson hasn't looked good as of late, and I just don't like Kirk Cousins in this matchup. And I really do feel like he's going to shoot that offense in the foot, because that's the only thing keeping them alive, because that defense surely ain't helping. They pretty much traded away any sort of pass rush, and pretty much the only guys I would trust on that defense is Harrison Smith and Harris and Eric Kendricks. But yeah, I gotta go Bears here. I feel like even though the Bears have been on a downfall, I feel like they're gonna have a win this week against Minnesota.
Not me, man. I'm gonna stay with the hot hand. I'm gonna take Minnesota. Get the run game going early and beat the Bears. Simple as that.
All right. Well, yeah, guys, that's all for Wednesday's upload. Make sure you check in tomorrow. Have all of your questions about fantasy answered. We're going to have a big episode. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching. As always, leave a like if you like it. As like I said at the beginning of the video, subscribe if you are new, or if you just haven't done it yet, click the bell so you know when we're going to upload. And we'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.